Hey, you. Yeah, you. What you doing? I know what I'm doing. I'm starting right with Talking About the Blues podcast, baby.
What's going on, good folks? You are now bluesing with Talking About the Blues. And I got a very special guest with me today, Mr. Ray Brooks. What's going on, sir?
Hello there, Mr. Jack. How are you today?
I'm well. So today we want to discuss the blues, your journey with the blues, and how you became a great blues musician. So why don't we start from the beginning, if you don't mind?
Yes. My first experience with the blues was my grandfather, John Mayberry, on my mother's side. When I was probably about 3 years old, I used to stand in the screen doorway and listen to him play with a friend of his at that time. And I remember him singing, "Someday, baby, you ain't gonna worry my mind anymore." That was back in the 40s.
Wow. Okay. So now this was at the boom of the blues. This is after classic blues when the Sun Houses of the world was recording and getting some notoriety. So you was there at a good point, at a good place.
Yes, sir.
At what point did you pick up the guitar and start singing?
Oh, I didn't start playing the guitar until I had graduated high school. One day in summer of '57, I had moved from my hometown, Gonzales, Texas, to Corpus Christi, Texas. And I was waiting for the bus, and it was a pawn shop there on the corner, so I started window shopping, and I saw this $10 Stella guitar, and I started thinking, I said, well, when I get the money, I'm going to come back and get it. And I did, and started practicing and going and listening to shows. I mean, I was eating and sleeping guitar 24/7. And the next year, in the fall of the year 1958, I started playing professionally.
Wow. So it took about a year for you to take it from the bedroom or the living room to the public.
Yes, I tell my students today that it's amazing what you can do in 6 months if you really apply yourself.
Really?
And yes, I learned that from my own self-teaching.
Well, let's talk about that, sir.
Pardon me?
I said let's talk about that, sir, because first and foremost, you said your own self-teaching, and a lot of the blues, and please correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the blues musicians were self-taught or had like a mentor besides Robert Johnson, who was taught by a piano player.
Yes, back in those times, as you well know, things were pretty tough. Money was hard to come by, so we couldn't afford lessons, most of us, and especially where I'm from. And so, but the advice we got from our elders and parents and things, that whatever you decide to do, try to be good at it. And so that's why the jam session was so important, the brotherly love of musicians, because that's where guys hone their craft, going to the sessions and sharing information.
You teach guitar, yes?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and you mentioned that you tell your students you can get a lot accomplished in 6 months. For the audience that are listening that are up and coming, amateur, beginners, well, whatever level they are, could you explain that concept? What would they be working on for 6 months that would get them to another level of playing?
Well, the thing of it is, with most all things, there are formulas or information that's handed down by other players. And so I think you have to arrange your time where you can work on a combination of things, all within, say, a 30-minute to 1 hour setting. And as you well know now, especially for our young people, you just have to be skilled at your craft. I tell them that normal won't get you paid.
You got that right.
So for guitar, I start all my students with the major scale. And we go to the middle of the guitar, which is like middle C of the piano.
Right.
And so we start right there with understanding these sharps and flats. And of course, scales can be boring for some people. So you try to get them to understand that it is the key to your speed. It is the enhancer to your melody playing, your solo playing, etc. And so that's why you do it.
I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. And let me ask you this, as someone who plays the slide and tries to work on the scales, but I wouldn't say it's lazy. I would say more or less, as you start working on the scales and you hear rhythm, then you allow yourself to be distracted or deterred. Share with us the importance of the scale, even if you wish to play slide, because I think some people believe the slide is the easy way out.
Well, in my opinion, I think melody is so important because that's what really distinguishes one song from another. I went into this club one night, and so one of the younger players, he said to me, he said, "Sing Stormy Monday." I said, "Do you know Stormy Monday?" He said, "Yeah, I know Stormy Monday." So when I finished the second verse, I said, "Okay, guitar player, you got the solo." And, he played some stuff, And so when I walked off the stage, I told him, I said, "You don't know Stormy Monday." And that upset him, And so he wanted to talk about it, and I told him, I says, "Go listen to T-Bone Walker." Now, that's the originator of the song,
right.
And when you learn to play that, then you can come back and tell me you can play Stormy Monday. I mean, anybody can put some notes together. Anybody can be a scale technician, if you will. But I think there's a great difference in just being a scale technician and playing the melody of the song.
Understood.
And so, to me, that's very important. But your scales will definitely enhance your melody playing.
Dig it. Now, with that being said, share with us who are some of the great blues guitarists that inspired you as you were up and coming.
Well, some of them are guys that you maybe never heard of so much. There was a guy in my hometown when I was still in high school. They called him Bowleg Sam. He really was, like, outside of my grandpa, my next inspiration that really got me thinking about it. And after school, I used to go out in the car and listen to this station out of Houston, and which played a lot of blues. And, of course, B.B. King is way up on that list.
Someone else who spoke about the importance of practicing the scales.
Pardon me?
I said B.B. King was someone else who spoke on the importance of practicing the scales.
Okay, so there's the confirmation right there. Because when you listen to B.B., very distinctive, great sound. A lot of people don't know in his early years he was playing way more than he played at the end, but I think from the blues standpoint, he got much more out of a few notes. Like the saying goes, as a writer, trying to say a complex thing in a simple way.
Right.
And I think that's where the work is.
Dig it. I dig it. Share with us some stories about your grandpa, because you said you used to watch him play with another musician. Did he play the juke joints or was he what you would call a musician that just enjoyed to play, or was this his?
Oh, they enjoyed to play, but he also played the juke joints. And what was important about that, and for a little old 3.5-year-old kid to witness this, his friend was a white guy.
Really?
In the 40s in Texas. And, during those terrible times, these two men would sit there on the front porch, and they were in their own world. I witnessed this as a kid. And they had so much fun, and the laughing and the joking and all that type of thing. And even at my age, I could, I knew that this wasn't the norm,
right?
With other things that I experienced. And so that's a great thing that music has been able to do.
Right.
It brings people together all over the world.
And that, that's really a strong message and lesson, especially that young in life, to be able to carry that on. I would have to imagine that seeing that and understanding that helped a lot with your success later in life as a professional musician.
Oh yes, and that's where I'm most comfortable, where all God's children are. I think that's the way the Creator intended it to be. We have those pockets. It's just like a place that we play every Sunday here in Victorville, California, called the High Desert Lodge. And that's what we have. We have everybody, the young and old, all ethnicities, just having a great time. And, man, you can't pay for that.
No, that's spiritual. That's truly spiritual. I would have to ask you though, based on that, do you see a lot of black folk at these shows that you perform at? Not performing, but in the audience.
That depends upon where you are.
Okay.
And the bigger the shows, the less. Okay. And so now if we want to deal with real, then what they say, man, it's about the green. The dollar bill. They had a song back in the 50s about that. So, that's what it says, that, still there's a lot of situations where some people just don't have the money to go. They would love to be there,
but they can't afford the big venues.
That's right.
I have to say that is really what's the word when you're struck with reality, because I've gotten so many answers from that question, and that was the first time that was the answer, but that is actually the truth in so many cases. No one really, and most, I won't say all, but I'll just say that sometimes it's just hard for us to face the truth about some things. Well, for different reasons. Right.
For whatever they may be,
Yes.
But I think, in my opinion, there again, I think we have to talk about all these things. That's the only way we make it better.
Right, and to heal, you can't. Well, not you as in you, but in general, I don't find it healthy to 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 suppress it because it's always that monkey in the room, as they say, that elephant in the room, and it would just be better if we just get it out in the open. And I believe people can get past it because now we don't have to worry about, well, is he going to bring it up? Am I going to bring it up? What's going on? Well, let's go back to you for a moment. Let's talk about your songwriting and the process. What's your creative? How do you go about writing your songs? Do you sit down, strum
Well,
it?
now in the last few years, I just wait. I don't try to force write or anything like that. And usually, what happens is, first of the year, in the middle of the year, ideas just come.
Mm.
And sometimes they're so fluent until, I may do it in an hour. Or sometimes, an idea will come 4 o'clock in the morning, and
Mm-hmm.
and I learned that I have to get up and put it down, okay,
Mm.
because it'll go on back out to heaven somewhere, So I found for me that that's what it should be, and so I just wait for those times to come, and then one of the processes, like I told you, is trying to say a complex thing in a simple way.
Right, right, which may be the hardest part of it, huh?
Yes, in my opinion, it is.
Right, because when you have a lot to say. Well, let me ask you this: I've as a songwriter and speaking to other songwriters, I've heard this on a couple occasions when that idea hits you, and you quickly and what it feels like easily come up with a first verse and a nice chorus, and then it's like you're stuck. How do you work through that?
Well, there again, I think it goes back to the subject matter. What are you trying to say?
Mm.
And so I heard Smokey Robinson say that a song is kind of like a mini movie, and I said, "Oh man, I got to remember that." So yeah, usually what can happen is when you get your hook, then it's what are you trying to say? What is this song trying to say? And I think if you will keep asking yourself that, then the verses will come.
Mm.
Because it's like you're telling a story. So part one, okay? And so then if we're going to use what we call a bridge, then, it's scenery time, so we're going to have a change in the music. We're going to take you across the New Orleans Bridge and let you view all the sights,
Yeah.
So it's that type of process. But yes, sometimes you can get stuck just trying to figure out how to say that thing in a simple way.
I dig it.
You know what it is, but to put it musically where it will catch the phrasing, where the phrasing is simple.
Right.
And that's the whole thing about it is putting that phrase in a simple rhythmic pattern, where it just flows.
Mm. I dig it. So now you've worked with what some would say big names. Now to me, you're a big name. Talk about what it was like working with cats like Floyd Dixon, Gatemouth Brown, Billy Preston. What was that atmosphere like? What was that like?
Oh man, I tell you, Gatemouth Brown, he was definitely high up on the chain. of the Angels, man, because we were at his feet because we were just little youngsters. First major gig, I think second, because we had worked with Floyd Dixon prior to that. And, just to be in those guys' presence was like, And, but the thing with all true artists, in my experience, they just always have been down to earth, very accessible, just regular people.
Right, right.
And that's what I love most,
Yeah, I do. And let's talk about that for a second, because the how can I word this? Because I don't want to give it a negative connotation, because I don't mean it in a bad way, but the business of music, or whatever your business is, but we're talking about music, is to, you want to sell. I mean, the reality of the situation is we are artists, we love doing art, but, we have overhead, we have to live.
yes.
So do you think that part of that selling of the artist kind of makes people think they're bigger than life, which is why it becomes, wow, that person's really a human being, rather than, that's a human being who can really just get up there and get busy?
Yes, I think in a lot of ways, from the promotional package, a lot of times the images that are presented, you don't know that artist personally. You're not behind the backdrop. So what they say, it's what you see is what you get type of thing, and always that is not true.
I dig it. So now you've been through several generations of music, right? So the vinyl, the analog, the new digital era, the bigger than life artists, wow. I mean, you've seen some things.
Yes, sir. I have, and I'm thankful for that.
Absolutely.
And
well, with with seeing all these things, having where we are today with being able to have a direct to consumer relationship with your audience, how does that make you feel coming through all those different eras of the business?
Oh, it's exciting, and hope is right up there, because I think what it says is we can continue to improve, and that's what we want to share with young people, so they don't get in depressive states of mind, feel like it's all been done, because that's not my opinion. I think there's room. There'll always be somebody coming up with a little new twist. Yes, I got into with my Iron Horseman Blues CD, the electronic music, and the critics ate me up on it. Said, we don't have no automatic drummers in the blues. But it's that you're trying to get to the marketplace.
Right. Right.
And especially for somebody like me, I never had a major deal. And so you say, well, what am I going to do? So I must keep trying. And, when it's all said and done, there'll be some things out there that says, this is Ray Brooks.
Right. Well, there's a lot of things out there that says this is Ray Brooks, and I've heard your music. It is groovy, I'll tell you that.
Well, sir, thank you so very much. I'm telling you, that's everything to an entertainer. Is we have ideas, and all, but it's nothing like someone else telling you that they like what you do.
Mm.
I thank you for that.
You're very welcome, sir. You're very welcome. There's blues, there's Delta blues, there's electric blues. Then you have rock blues, which is really just rock and roll, but they call it, well, rock and roll is the blues, but it's rock and roll with the term blues on it. What do you feel about the distinctions between it? Like, is it just blues is just blues, or blues evolves, or we got to keep it true to the early blues? What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm old school, definitely. Uh, there's a word called
Mm-hmm.
originality.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so I think there's a lot of things we can look at. Uh, and of course, we love all the people who love the blues and come in and want to be a part of it. It's just grown and grown and grown.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a problem with the idea, or the premise with some of our players because of where this music originated, where it came from,
Mm-hmm.
what it's really, really about,
Yes.
Uh, and I just find that, yes, and I'm a senior statesman, so I can say this. If you're going to classify yourself as a blues man, then you need to go get in the garage and go listen to the pioneers of this music.
Absolutely.
Okay? That's just fact. And I know, that some people have a problem with that. Okay? But I'll stand by that.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because the thing of it is if we try to make it something other than what it is, then it ceases to be the blues.
That's right. That's right.
So, I don't hear anybody trying to change Beethoven or Bach,
I do. They don't. No, and I agree 100%. And it's only right. You can put your DNA, you can put your DNA in what you do, but know what you're doing. I dig it. I dig it. So let me ask you, because I've seen that you've worked with so many artists. Have you done films? Have you scored films? Are you looking into getting into that field?
Well, I'm just open to what comes. As a 14-year-old kid looking at Rock Around the Clock in my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd be here.
Mm.
And so all these things that have happened to me are just blessings from the Creator.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know what's yet to come. I'm just trying to prepare myself to be ready for it. And so I've had a song in a movie called Bob, Alice, Ted, and Carol I co-wrote with Morris Bashman out of New Orleans.
Nice.
A song called Burbank Brown. And I've done a few commercials, but basically I'm a guitar player, musician at heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what is it now? You're being quite humble, but you are Grammy nominated. That's not easy to come by, especially with all the stuff that's going on.
Well, yes, I'm thankful for that. And there again, I think it was just the creators doing. Miss Evelyn Smith, who wrote the song, came to me to arrange the song for another blues singer, Sherwood Fleming. And at the time, blues was not selling very well, and I was trying to come up with an idea for the song, and finally got an arrangement together, but it was fresh for the time because it was not the old 145, B.B. King type of blues thing.
Right.
And I think that was made a great attraction to the song, along with the lyric content. Usually, the singer says, "Oh, baby, I'm going to die if you leave me, blah, blah, blah." But this guy says, "If you're weak enough to leave me, I'm strong enough to watch you go." And women love that song,
Yeah.
And, what it says to me is they really do like strong men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You mentioned that at the time blues wasn't selling so well. How do you feel about where we are with the blues and sales today?
Well, I think blues would be just as big or bigger as it ever was, given the opportunity. What has happened now is, no diss against youth, but the majority of the production people for the companies are young people.
Right.
And so they don't really know anything about the blues. Not really, They've heard about it, but not really.
Right.
They didn't grow up with it. They don't really know it. It's like a lot of our young drummers can't even play a shuffle, because they just haven't been involved in that music at all. And so I think that is a drawback. There's no outlet. It's not because I haven't tried. I've presented material to major companies all down through the years, and they tell me, "Good product, but we're just not signing anybody right now." And one of those things from back in Muddy Waters days, they basically, blues have always been the back shelf commodity,
Right. Right.
And so it's the real blues loving people though who buy it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does have a cult following. So do you think because we're involved in this community of blues, it seems like it's a nice boom, but if you step out of it, it's still in a small pocket?
Yes, like I said, because it haven't been given that place of promotion equal to other music. And then we were talking about styles and things earlier. And yes, I think in that case, blues must evolve. BB was a great ambassador for that because he was really lyric conscious.
Right.
And so, he was a family show. And that's what we try to do. So you're not going to hear Ray Brooks singing anything that his mother can't listen to.
I hear that. And, that's also very important because it's gotten to a point where, well, it's been at this point for quite some time. I would easily say 20 to 30 years, maybe longer, that an entire family can't sit down and listen to the radio or to a song. I mean, they could, but, parents would kind of cringe listening to certain things around their children.
Yes.
And, so that's groovy, and it's also groovy because it brings the music back to the home front.
And I think it's going to come back, because things that we have now, it's been around for a while, and and there are people looking for ways to go. I mean, you can hear it, and so what's starting to happen is they say, "Oh man, we got to go back here to this." This is when the creativity was going on. It's like Motown. It was clean lyrics,
Right.
great beats. Great rhythm. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Storytelling.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very visual. Very visual. So now, in this new climate, now you mentioned that you've never been signed to a major, so you would be considered an independent artist for the duration of your career, right? So does that help you in this climate of CD Baby and things of that nature?
Oh, things like CD Baby was definitely a help because it allows independent artists to get their material out to the world. And so, yes, but it's still production is very expensive. And so that's why for artists like me, you say, well, man, you haven't had nothing in a long time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just can't go in the studio every day.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
that is the difference with having a major deal. But the other thing too, what they say is time goes along, and I can understand that too. It's the young faces, out there. But the one thing about music is, as long as you're breathing and you still can do it at a level where it's presentable, then go for it. Because that's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. And you have to, and you should. And I'd say coming for you, because you coming from that era of really going into a professional studio and laying down good work, then getting a high quality sound and mix. What's your thought about the new age of independent artists who think that they could, and I'm not knocking what they do because that's their way of coming up, but under the impression that you can record a great song in your room and go platinum or whatever the case is that realistic?
Well, it has happened. So what they say, you can't argue with success.
Right. Yeah.
So we have all these things available, but there again, when it comes to music like the blues, now the real purists say no. We don't want that stuff. We want live players.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And well, I'm located in New York, and live music is something a lot of people hunger for, and this is becoming more and more. How has it been for you with these last couple of years, or well, more than a couple of years, this digital boom, when you didn't have to go live for people to hear music? Do you find that people are really thirsty for that? I know the blues community is, excuse me, but just audiences in general. Do you find that there's a bigger hunger for these live performances?
Oh yes, I think even more so than before. We went through a period there where, I think people get caught up with their assets and spending all the time at a job. I went through that. I worked in aerospace, and so working 6 days a week, sometimes 7. And you get caught up in that whole scene, and so you just don't have any time for enjoyment. And I think what's starting to happen now, people are starting to say that, wait a minute, I got to take some time out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
and so now it's starting to flip over again. You know, people are starting to go out, and they, you know, just like where we play on Sundays. I mean, there's a big dance floor, and man, they just have a ball. And I think we need that release. We need to get rid of that stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially through music. It just it's such a spiritual connection. It allows people to really unwind, you know. So let's talk about your stage show, because you're a true you are a true bluesman. Eh, Give the audience an idea of what you find important for to having a great blues stage show.
Well, I think that right out the box, there's got to be energy.
Mm.
Uh, you you want people to be attentive, you know, because when they first come in, if they haven't been there before, it's like, well, what's going to go on?
Right.
So, man, you got to come out the box, set them back on their ear right out the box, you know. And so I learned these things from people like James Brown, you know.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. You got to come with that energy, okay? It's like the Holy Ghost Church.
That's
you know?
right.
Yes, and so that is the key, and then being able to sustain that for an hour or an hour and a half. You know, pacing is very important. You know, we have our times that we segue into things to get a breather. You know?
Right, right.
But it still must maintain interest, you know. It's like you got the dancers up dancing for 3 or 4 songs, and now you come with a slow jam.
Mm.
Well, that slow jam has got to be saying something.
That's right.
It's got to have a hook that's really, really strong.
That's right.
And so then it will maintain that energy.
Now,
choosing your material and segues and all that is very important, you know, and not having a downtime. Keep something going on all the time.
Now, I just want the audience to really understand what you're hearing, because there's a lot of up-and-coming musicians, and some are not just up-and-coming, whether they're beginning amateurs or mid-level. Understand what the gentleman is saying. You got to put on a show for an hour to an hour and a half. That's a long time to be up there, and people are not enthusiastic about what you're doing. So it sounds like what you guys do is sit down. You make the playlist in order to have a vibe, a continuity, and to be able to give you guys some moments of rest time so you can come back with the energy.
Yes.
That's a lot of plotting.
So true.
That's a lot. So this is not as it appears to some people. It's not as well. Let me just grab my axe or get a mic, get on a stage, and tear it down for an hour. There's a thought process behind this.
Oh yes, it's serious business. You know, I don't know if you saw the James Brown movie. He says there's 2 parts. He says there's the business and there's the show.
That's right.
And he said you better believe I'm both of them.
That's right.
I love that statement. Yeah.
But because
I saw
true.
PB and Freddie King tie up at the Longhorn Ballroom in Dallas, 1961, and it was only for about 20 minutes, but it seemed like an hour.
Wow.
They were just trading licks.
Wow.
Back and forth, man. You know, who can top this? Okay, and in those days we didn't have the media like we have now. It would be good to have those things on tape.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's history. You also played with Freddie King, didn't you?
Yes.
Man, that's humongous. That's humongous. And to be able to be part of that, and with that being said, and you've said a lot to our audience, but I just want to specifically ask you, especially one being a professional musician with a long tenure, and two being a music teacher, what piece of advice would you give to whether the younger generation coming into this or older generation that's been doing it but kind of plateaued and trying to break through? What would be your main piece of advice to them?
Well, I would say decide what you want to do. And once you've decided that, and if it's singing and playing, then go and do some homework of whatever genre you decide to go into. But just in general, you should just study people in music across the board. I like all kind of music. I got guitar players I like across the spectrum. And so then start to apply the dedication to your craft. Because when we came along, the technology was not, at the place. It was like pioneering.
Right.
And so you got a chance to do things, but as what they say, time is money, and things became more technical. Musicians today, really have to be astute because it's about the time and money. So learn your craft, first of all. See, think about that first. Get that together, then go out and promote yourself.
Because they don't have development deals like they did back in the day, like Motown and Chess and down in Memphis, Stax, and places like this. They allowed the artists and musicians to develop and get a vibe and just record and play until they just got that thing. You really don't have that too much anymore because it is quite expensive, right?
That is so true. It's a different day to day. And in most cases now, it's the majors just wait on independent producers to come with the product. And they just make a deal on it. Wherein before they did everything. It's not that way anymore.
So do you think that helped or hurt music as a consumption, as for consumers? Because now your consumers are being presented with music that may not be developed, meaning, it doesn't have to be so tech. It's better, to me at least. The imperfections are better, but at least some type of package that's listenable rather than just putting it out there. It's kind of hard for them to...
Well, I think that, in my opinion, I think that the creative ability has been dampened because of all the shortcuts. It allows people to put some things together, loop and all that type of stuff. And I'm not against any of those things because they're successful.
Right.
But I just find from a creative standpoint, hey, I don't have to think about it. I just, I ain't got to play it, but once, maybe, or get it from somewhere else, and make my record, And so I think we've lost that creativity. That time of the 70s when you had all these groups and they all sound different, and just think about all the material, you
Right.
know,
Right.
the different songs that were out there, you know. Now everything is formatted along the same line, pretty much, you know. And the MP3s are flatlined, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're kind of into this, you know, it's the thing, but there's a difference.
Right. Right. Right.
And the old school DJs tell me, Ray, send me a CD. Yeah, so it is what it is. But I think we have what it says, variety is the spice of life. And so I think all these things have their place.
Right, but see, exactly, and I agree. They all do have their place. It's a difference when every category has a lane on a playing field than just this one sound that everybody is doing is on a playing field, and all the other sounds are outside the stadium. That's not groovy in the least, you know, because you can't tell nobody apart. So it's hard to enjoy that particular artist because you don't know who you're listening to.
Yes, that's why I think, you know, like I say, the variety is missing because when we listen to today's music, it basically all sounds the same.
Mm. Now, I need to ask you this question that is quite important to me for several reasons. And now, after having a pleasure and honor to speak to you and hearing the story of watching your grandfather play with another musician, showing unity, you know, between white and black folk through music, which is a great thing. But I would like to know, do you believe it's important that young black kids, young black adults, and even some black adults who may not know, be reconnected to not just the music but the history of the music?
Oh yes, what they say is if you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going.
Mm.
And so there's myth out there, even when I started. But I think that if you go back and sit down and really, you know, I remember when I didn't like Howlin' Wolf.
Mm.
But I listened to this song, Smokestack Lightning, and it's like, man, he's talking a whole lot of stuff in that song. So you have to sit down and listen, because what you have to also understand, at that time, a lot of viewpoints were not accepted.
Mm.
And especially for men of color.
Mm.
So, you know, they kind of chewed their words up and things, and a lot of things that they were saying, you know.
Yes, I understand.
So the message songs, if you will.
Right, right.
Yep. So it's, you know, it's definitely from the field. Okay.
I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. And that sheds light on so many things, because
yeah, just I mean, you know, just being out in the sun for 9-10 hours a day, you know, 110 in the shade, but just being able to hum or moan a song was encouraging. You know what I mean? It was the protein. You know.
I dig it. I dig it. So now,
and so those are the things that we need to pass on to young people, to get them to understand what the music really is, and and then too, the way it needs to be performed. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an energy music. You know what I mean?
I do.
You know, and then it was uh, there's a brighter day, hope. You know,
Yeah.
hope and change. Okay, and so in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of change,
Mm.
and I still can say that we need more change.
Absolutely. But there has been
Yeah.
change. I do understand. I do understand. I do understand. So now, what's your latest project? What's your next project? Where could the good folks find you?
Oh yes. For information on Ray Brooks, you can telephone Doug Dirch at 213-4901. 213-924-4901.
Groovy, groovy, groovy. It's wait now. Do you have a website?
I have a Facebook page called Ray Brooks Blues.
You heard that, good folk. You better go there, check it out, right, and get the CD.
And also, you can go to cdbaby.com and you can hear my music there.
Dig it, dig it.
And of course, I'm in Amazon, all the iTunes things. You know, Ray Brooks is all over the place.
Your music ain't hard to find. You there. I dig it. So, I just want to thank you for your time, sir. Enlighten us on talking about the blues with your blues journey and a lot of music education.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jack, for having me. I would like to say to everyone out in TV land, please do go out and support music when it's in your community, and especially the blues. Thank you.
You heard that. You heard that. Well, once again, you've been blues, and we're talking about the blues. And if you don't do nothing, keep God first,